Your biological signature is currently leaking availability. Look at your interaction density, the immediate speed at which you respond to a message, the way you fill the gaps in a conversation to avoid awkwardness, and your compulsive need to keep the energy up when she withdraws. You are a biological unit experiencing a state of terminal gravitational liquidation. The Matrix has successfully branded responsiveness as being a good man. You believe that by being engaged, you are building attraction, but in the terminal of the feminine limbic system, you are merely proving that you have zero internal mass. You are a satellite orbiting her mood, rather than a monolith of unshakable intent. Your nervous system is vibrating at the frequency of the entertainer, the male who fears that if the silence lasts too long, his value will evaporate. The system doesn't want your mystery, it wants your transparency to be the foundation of her psychological comfort. Thousands of years ago, attraction was a product of the unreachable. Your ancestor, the sovereign of the unmapped dark, understood that the void was the most powerful psychological tool in his arsenal. He mastered primal grounding in the law of the absent signal. He didn't offer emotional reassurance to every passing bid for attention. He offered the visual rage of a total, unyielding silence. His hierarchy was built on the foundation of psychological displacement, the understanding that the human brain is a machine that runs on pattern recognition, and when the pattern of expected reaction is broken, it triggers a state of biological obsession. His biological rebellion was his total refusal to be read. He possessed a mind that treated her silence as an invitation to go deeper into his own mission. He understood that the moment you try to fill the vacuum, you have surrendered your apex signature. His existence was a monolith of unshakable, quiet gravity. And you have the social reflex of a domestic animal. You have been systematically dismantled by a culture that demands you communicate, which is just a tactical trap to ensure your value is always harvestable and your mystery is zero. To create desperation, you must first become psychologically uninhabited, a space she cannot help but try to fill. The attraction vacuum is the implementation of the collar of the invisible predator for your final internal dominance. The system wants you to be open and vocal, words that mean predictable and weak. Absolute sovereignty is a biological siege of the romantic grid. It is the visual rage of the architect, seeing the social grid for what it is, a series of investment hooks, stimulus-response lures, and deciding to be the one who shorts the circuit with absolute zero feedback. You must develop a clinical cold contempt for rapport building. Rapport is a horizontal bond for the herd. Absolute presence is a vertical tool for the elite. You must learn to occupy the blind spots of the emotional radar. Use the temporal noose of the long withdrawal to force her to confront her own lack of control over your state. Use the false safety of a calm, quiet delivery to mask the activation of your total internal independence. This is the collar of freedom. By mastering the art of the unmoved soul, you become the only person in the room whose value is not being broadcast from their compliance. The Matrix cannot simulate the pull of a man who is truly indifferent to whether the conversation continues. Your time is the temporal noose, and your need for a connection is the knot. Every double text you send to fix the vibe is a signature on your own biological death warrant. I command you, initiate the total presence audit. Your mind is a biological weapon, and it is currently being jammed by the static of your own emotional reactivity. You must perform a hard reset of the attachment instincts. Stop being available, the industrial waste designed to keep you at the bottom of the ledger. Stop participating in their attention ceremonies, the digital propaganda designed to make you believe that engaging is a victory. Stop using their vulnerability protocols, the narratives designed to keep you in a state of constant exposure. You must prune your life of attention parasites. If an interaction requires you to perform to maintain interest, it is a biological saboteur. You must learn to love the weight of the vacuum. This is the monolith strategy, becoming a biological fortress that is unshakable by choice and sovereign by design. Command: withhold the signal or be the noise. The neural interface of your sexual market value is currently suffering from predictability overflow. Look at your reflexive validation, the way you subconsciously nod, smile, or offer a verbal bridge the moment she stops speaking to ensure she feels heard. You are a biological unit experiencing a total presence liquidation. The Matrix has effectively replaced your primal gravity with a systemic attentiveness. You believe that by being emotionally intelligent, you are securing the bond, but in the terminal of the limbic system, you are merely providing a safety net kills the tension. This is the visual rage of the domesticated male, seeing your high-value activation energy being bled out into maintaining the vibe, while the true operator remains in a state of absolute zero, converting his silence into a biological crushing force that triggers a search protocol in her mind. The system doesn't want your dominance, it wants your reactivity to be the proof that she is the center of your universe. In the ancient hierarchy, the law of the unbreaking stone, the master was the one who could remain a biological void while being pelted with the bids of the insecure. Your ancestor, the sovereign of the absolute cold, understood that attention was a finite weapon to be used only for strategic impact. He mastered primal grounding by becoming an attention vacuum, a figure whose emotional state remained at absolute stasis, regardless of her proximity or her distance. He understood that to react is to acknowledge the lead. If you are answering every emotional probe to show you are there, you are acknowledging that she is the architect and you are the component. His biological superiority was built on the foundation of systemic withdrawal. He knew that the human brain is a machine that runs on reward loops, and by refusing to close the loop with an immediate reaction, he triggered a biological obsession, a state of neural hunger, in anyone who sought his focus. He was a master of the visual rage of the empty seat, the ability to be physically present but psychologically uninhabited, leaving her to chase a monolith. To be a master, you must first become psychologically unreachable within the interaction. The attraction vacuum is the activation of the anti-chew protocol for your final internal dominance. The matrix wants you to be communicative and supportive, words that mean harvestable and weak. Absolute sovereignty is a biological siege of the perception grid. It is the visual rage of the architect, seeing the social grid for what it is, a series of interaction hooks, stimulus-response lures, and deciding to be the one who shorts the circuit by never providing the expected data. You must develop a clinical cold contempt for mutual understanding. Connection is a horizontal bond for the herd. Absolute presence is a vertical tool for the elite. You must learn to occupy the psychological high ground by controlling the flow of your own biological signals. Use the temporal noose of the coal gap to drive her into a state of validation anxiety. Use the false safety of a calm, quiet delivery to mask the activation of your total internal independence. This is the color of freedom. By mastering the art of the unmoved soul, you become the only person in the room whose value is not being broadcast from their compliance. The one who can go the longest without giving a reaction is the one who controls the desire. Your time is the temporal noose, and your need for a response is the knot. Every follow-up message you send to see if everything is okay is a signature on your own biological death warrant. I command you, initiate the second stage of the presence rearmament. Your mind is a biological engine, and it is currently being choked by the empathy sludge of the unworthy. You must perform a total neural boundary reset. Stop being available to those who offer you nothing but their own fluctuations. Stop being a node in their network of emotional reassurance. Stop being a unit of compliance in their ledger of proper partners. You must prune your social interactions with the collar of absolute sovereignty. If a situation requires you to perform to stay relevant, the situation is a biological failure. You must learn to love the weight of the silence. You must learn to love the friction-heavy hours where the noise of the collective is muted and your dominance is the only signal in the dark. This is the monolith strategy, becoming a biological fortress that is unshakable by choice and sovereign by design. Command, withhold the attention or be the pet. Your biological trajectory has reached the terminal velocity of relational transparency. Look at your feedback threshold, the exact moment your nervous system triggers a compulsion to check the temperature of the interaction because the silence has become too heavy for your domesticated brain to carry. You are a biological system in a state of chronic activation decay. The system has successfully replaced your apex gravity with a series of social lubricants disguised as communication. You no longer seek to dominate the space with your unmoving presence. You seek to be understood. You no longer seek to be the sovereign. You seek to be in sync. This is the visual rage of the terminal slave, seeing your life force being digitized and archived in a stable connection, while your physical reality remains a quiet, managed enclosure of unfulfilled DNA. You are breathing in the toxic fumes of a collective that demands your vulnerability as a form of tribute, leaving you lightheaded, fragmented, and fundamentally easy to overlook. The system doesn't want your mystery, it wants your reactivity to be the foundation of its control over your energy. Return to the ancient hierarchy, the law of the unbreaking monolith. In the primal world, the master was the one who could remain a biological void, even in the center of a storm of emotional desperation. Your ancestor, the sovereign of the absolute cold, understood that power was a product of biological certainty. He mastered primal grounding by becoming an impenetrable core, a figure whose thoughts were his own property and whose presence was the only law. He understood that to seek rapport is to confess inferiority. If you are participating in the relatability script provided by the herd, you are acknowledging that their comfort is the barometer of your reality. He used his silent sovereignty to create a cognitive resonance of absolute, unshakable divinity. By being the master of his own internal feedback, he forced the partner to seek direction from his silence. He was a master of the visual rage of the unblinking sun, the ability to look at the emotional probes of the rival and see only the weakness they represented. He understood that the human brain is a machine that runs on response loops, and by cutting the response, he triggered a biological submission in anyone who tried to read him. To be a king, you must first become psychologically unreceptive to the need for mutual validation. The attraction vacuum is the activation of the anti-chew protocol for your final mental expansion. The matrix wants you to be open and expressive, words that mean harvestable and weak. Absolute sovereignty is a biological jailbreak of the presence. It is the visual rage of the architect, seeing the social grid for what it is, a series of response control nodes, stimulus-response lures, and deciding to be the one who burns the grid. You must develop a clinical, cold contempt for mainstream social skills. Empathy is a horizontal bond for the herd. Absolute presence is a vertical tool for the elite. You must learn to occupy the psychological high ground by controlling the flow of your own biological signals. Use the temporal noose of total verbal starvation to drive your rivals into a state of cognitive dissonance. Use the false safety of a neutral social profile to mask the viral infection of your total non-compliance with the beta norms. This is the collar of freedom. By mastering the art of the unmoved soul, you become the only person in the room whose value is not being broadcast from their approval. You are not socializing. You are deleting the noise. The one who can go the longest without giving a smile is the one who controls the joy. Your time is the temporal noose, and your need to be seen as a nice guy is the knot. Every polite gesture you provide to the unworthy is a signature on your own biological death warrant. I command you, initiate the final presence imperative. This is the tax of insight. You have been given the key to the vault of biological gravity. To keep it, you must use it as a weapon of total social dominance. You must become a living monolith of unshakable silence. You are no longer a peer, a colleague, or a friend. You are a sovereign operator. You must perform a total system liquidation. If a relationship, a technology, or a habit requires you to be transparent, it is a biological saboteur. You must prune your life with the collar of the absolute zero. You are building a fortress of results in a world of digital shadows. Your presence is the physical proof of your biological leverage. You do not provide feedback. You create a reality in which you are the only absolute truth. You do not seek connection. You are the law itself. You are the architect of your own stillness, and the world is merely a mirror reflecting your ascent. Command: be the shadow or be consumed by the light.